What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Tell Me More podcast presented by the Real Estate Cheat Code. I have Tim Moore with us. He's with the Easy Referral Network at Keller Williams, Greater Columbus Realty. Tim, thanks so much for taking time out of your day to join me and really just to share your real estate journey.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
And we were kind of chatting a little bit off, behind the stage. And your position now is a little bit different. So I'm excited to talk about just kind of the growth of you in this industry. But, Tim, before we get to that part, we always start from the very beginning of, what was life like for you growing up as a child? Where did you grow up? Any hobbies, any interests?
By the time I hit 18, it was 15 houses that we lived in.
Wow.
So was born in Philly, lived all around the Philadelphia area, Syracuse, New York, lived in the Netherlands for a little while, all throughout Delaware. So my life pretty much was books and tennis. I discovered tennis when I was 8, and it was 7 hours a day, 6 days a week from there all the way through college. That was really my hobby, reading books and playing tennis.
So never challenge you to a match, huh?
I have not picked up a racket since I was 30 and both knees decided to go. So
now I'm not going to let you skip over the Netherlands. What took you to the Netherlands growing up?
My uncle was NASA's representative to the European Space Program. So Mom and I took advantage of it and went over and lived with them for several months and traveled all over Europe, which as a 12-year-old kid, I liked not having to go to school for several months. But it was a great experience as a kid.
So did you have end up going to college, or you just jump right into the career field? What was kind of the next steps after?
I went to college out of high school. Went to high school in Roanoke, Virginia, and went to Emory and Henry College, which is in Virginia, and played tennis and did not do what I should have done grades-wise, but had a great time, made a lot of good friends, and then came out and tried to make a career as a tennis player. Then decided I didn't like being a country club pro. I didn't like teaching and did not like country club parents. Did not make enough money, honestly.
Yeah.
And I did teach at some tennis clinics, camps, and decided I had to do something else.
Yeah. And the one thing about that, that scene, the politics and everything behind the scenes that no one really knows about.
Yeah, it wasn't as much fun as it looks. The politics with parents who thought that their kid was going to be the next greatest thing in the world in tennis, and they had no physical coordination, no eye-hand coordination, and it was not fun.
Yeah.
And I think if you talk to most tennis pros or golf pros, that are teaching level, it's not as much fun as it looks. You don't get to play tennis. You're out there just feeding balls all day, and it's not exciting.
Yeah. So Tim, take me down kind of your career journey up until the point of you deciding to go and get your real estate license.
Literally when I was in college, I managed a pet store at the mall. So that was my first. I waited tables before that. So no real job up to that point. That was an interesting thing, managing a retail store, dealing with staff, dealing with, inventory and money and everything for the first time. And then it was tennis. It really was. I didn't take much seriously, in high school and college. It really was. It was all focused around, playing tennis and, girls and friends and going to the lake and stuff. When I came out of college and started to take life seriously, I realized that what I thought I wanted to do was not going to be a great career. So I literally one day said to my dad, who had a tremendous sense of humor in a weird way, I told him I had to figure out what I wanted to do. And he said, well, what do you care about? I said, I want to sleep in. I want to make a good income. And my dad looked at me and said, become a realtor or an assassin. And I've always said I chose wrong. I became a realtor. I'm not the guy who had the passion for it. I'm not the guy who said, oh, I always loved real estate.
Yeah.
It literally was, I wanted to sleep in and stay up late, and I wanted to make a good income. So I applied for a job with a builder and got hired by a home builder to be a salesperson and started there. And I've been in it in some form ever since.
Yeah. And was that in Virginia then?
I actually started in Virginia for a custom builder. his son was one of my tennis clients. And I told him I was switching clubs because another club was going to pay me a couple bucks more an hour to teach. And I wasn't going to be able to teach his kid anymore because they won't allow non-members to get lessons. So he said, well, if you need money, I'll pay you to sit in the model home in Virginia on weekends. I said, oh, all right. And, he gave me $10 an hour, which in 1988 was actually a decent amount of money. It was 3 times the minimum wage.
Yeah.
And so I went up to a model knowing nothing about real estate. Beautiful mansion. This guy built huge custom homes. He gave me the keys, showed me around, left, went home to watch football. And 2 hours later, I had to call him and say, these people want to buy the house. And I sold the house my first day. And I was dumb enough to go, wow, this was easy. I didn't know he was going to pay me anything.
Yeah.
And he wrote me a check for 1%. And it was more money than I'd ever had in one place. And I was like, oh, this isn't that bad. And a few months after that, I came up to Ohio to visit my parents, met my now ex-wife, and stayed, went to work in Columbus for a builder, was all ready to leave a few years later when I got divorced and met my current wife. And we've been together 24 years and, never ended up leaving Columbus and going back to the mountains or the shore.
Yeah, it's interesting how, when I have people on here and just sharing the story and the journeys of like how they got to that point of making that decision of why real estate, right? And like it was literally, a lifestyle at that time that you wanted to live, and a simple suggestion, right, by your father, say, oh, pick up, do real estate. And it's interesting because I was kind of like you, and still kind of am, is I didn't really have a passion for real estate. I didn't really have, my parents had bought older homes to fix up and live in. Like they didn't flip houses or anything like that. I moved around a little bit as well. We have a running joke in my family. My mom says once the junk drawer's full, it's time to move. That the house that I'm currently in now that I own is the longest I've ever been in a house, and that's 6 years. So, I was like you, not real passionate about sales, but I did like it for the lifestyle that it was providing me. So in the new build world, that was just because of the opportunity of getting paid.
They gave me a salary. I didn't have to be to the office till 12, and the opportunity to make, a lot of money was there. I had friends that were selling cars. I had friends that had gone into, all kinds of sales, and they were making okay incomes, but nothing to brag about. And my first year, I made 3 times more than I made teaching tennis in my first year. And I was very happy. I liked the hours. The nights and weekends didn't really bug me because I had Thursdays, Fridays off. There was no one at the movie theater. The golf courses weren't busy. It just fit. And I never left.
So you come to Columbus, stay, find another builder here. Was it a custom builder or was it?
No, it was a production. Builder? It was a production builder.
Okay.
So I started with Miranda Homes when I first moved to Columbus.
Okay.
And was with them for a little over a year, and then another builder hired me away, and then another one hired me away, and that's kind of how it worked in those days. If you were successful, they'd walk into your model and offer you a better neighborhood, more money. And then I did 10 years for Romanelli and Hughes. I worked for Vince for 10 years. And got my real estate license while I was selling for Vince. He let me do both.
Okay.
So,
and so what made you want to do the real estate agent side and not necessarily quote unquote leave the builder side at that point, but do it side by side?
It was money. I mean, working for Vince, he didn't want me to go sell a Bob Webb new build, but he didn't care if I helped people that homes list, people not in the price range, etc. And it was like, wow, there's more money. I was passing probably 3-4 leads to agents I knew every week. And it was just, look at all that money I'm not getting anything from. So it gave me that. And then when I met Sue, my current wife, that was when I started to hate working the nights and weekends because she had a real job, and not getting off till 7 or 8 at night, not being around during the day on Saturday, Sunday. That's what caused me to leave selling new builds and focus more on the schedule I could control better, which was the resale schedule.
Yeah. Now, when you decided to dive into, the new build world, it wasn't 100% commission, correct? Or was it?
It really was. I mean, the production builders, they call it a salary, but usually it's a draw.
Yeah.
So like at Miranda, you know, they gave you X per month and then you got paid at closing, and it took a few months of closings to actually get ahead. But when I left, they paid me for almost a year afterwards as things closed, which wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really a salary.
Right. The reason I ask is, you know, a lot of times, and you know, you got in early on, right, in your life as far as the real estate world. Most people, it's, you know, decision number 3, 4, 5 as far as a career choice goes, right? And so, you know, going into, you know, this new industry, or even coming up to Columbus, right, and diving into an industry where it's commission based, did you have supporters? Did you have doubters? Where did people fall when you're like, hey, I'm going to go into the new build world?
You know, I don't know that I had. I don't know that I really had that much input. I mean, my dad was. I mean, he was an Ivy League graduate engineer who went into sales, and so he'd made his career in sales. So he was supportive, but Dad was supportive of anything I did pretty much my whole life until he passed. And I didn't know anybody in Columbus. I didn't really. My mom and Dad had moved there for Dad's work, but I didn't really have any friends to judge. I literally got there, met someone, and within a matter of weeks was working for a builder.
Yeah.
And I didn't really talk to, you know, my old tennis buddies about it because they had no understanding of it. You know, that was not a universe that all the tennis pros I knew, you know, knew about. So I don't remember really hearing anyone's opinion on it. And I was comfortable with it. I mean, the salary they gave me, I had no bills really. I mean, it wasn't like I had any real big debts to deal with.
Yeah. What was the timeline or the years of when you decided to get your real estate license and run them side by side?
You know, I took the classes the first time, I think it was 96. But at the time I had not gone to R&H yet, and Centex Homes didn't let you activate, so I didn't do it. I actually didn't get my license the first time till 2001 or 2.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember because my license number is different now than it was then.
Yeah.
So I'd been at R&H probably 3 years when I made the decision to activate it. And
so take me on that journey, right? You know, you mentioned, you know, you met your now wife. The nights and the weekends, you know, were becoming a pain point. And I bring this up a lot, right? If you have a significant other or a spouse, you know, the way that they support you, view things, you know, the lifestyle, like our lifestyle is not for everyone as a real estate agent, right? Or even a new build rep, you know. And so, you know, that has a big impact. I always tell people, you got to audit the people that you're around, family, friends, right? People, coworkers, etc. Because if you don't have that support system, this industry is hard enough. And if you're always fighting some of the people that, I use the word fighting, but if you're always fighting the mindset of the people, the 5 closest people or the 10 closest people around you, and they're viewing things differently, not only are you trying to figure out real estate, but now you got to figure out this new dynamic in this relationship and how to navigate those conversations. Take me on that path of like, what year did you decide to actually go full in on the real estate agent side and then leave the custom build side behind?
You know, I had my best year ever in 2008 as the market was falling apart around everybody and everyone was, you know, leaving the industry, getting other jobs. My business boomed. You know, for me, it was, you know, there's being smart and there's being lucky. No one, you know, I don't think anyone predicted what happened in 8 and 9 and 10. You could see a bubble coming, but I don't think anybody predicted it going as bad as it did. But at that point, I had years of Romanelli and Hughes clients built up, and that's, you know, a lot of wealthier people there. I just got on the phone and started calling past clients saying, hey, there's a $500,000 house. You can buy it from the bank for $280. Interested? And 2008 was an incredible year for me. I was so burned out at the end of it because I was up around $50 million as a solo agent, and think of what prices were in 2008.
Right.
But between new builds and resales and a couple subdivision, level things. It was just insane. And I was lucky because my wife, when I met Sue, she is still a workaholic, but it wasn't uncommon for her not to leave the office till 7 or 8. It was not uncommon for her to go in on Saturday. So, and we didn't have kids, never did. And that's kind of when we met, that was what I did. It wasn't like I took that job when I was already married or already, in a relationship, but it hit a point of, nah, sure. She'd been promoted multiple times. We didn't need all the money I made. I could take a cut in pay with no problem. And we just sat down and said it was more important. She was going to not work as late, not go in on the weekends as much, and wanted me to be home. I'd forgotten how much fun college football was, because you'd watch college football for a lot of years. And so it was really a conscious decision. And 2009, I had a staircase and a bank-owned collapse, blew my knee to pieces, was out. I was laid up for 6 months with surgeries and rehab. And when it was over, I kind of just said to her, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. And I did sell a few, each year from there through, I guess, 13s when I let my license go the first time. But I had no desire to do it. She asked me what I was going to do. And I said, I'm not sure. And what I ended up doing was teaching and coaching. I had brokers that were paying me to come in and teach. I had agents that hired me to teach, started doing a lot of writing and creating of content, and a lot less money, a lot less stress. But I was driving her to work a lot of the days and dropping her off, picking her up. Everything kind of revolved around her and our dog in the house, and I just really enjoyed it. I don't know, honestly, if I had not had that injury, if I would have had the courage to walk away.
Yeah.
But after 6 months of being laid up and going, hold it, the sky hasn't fallen. We're paying our bills. We're still, able to do things. So, I got into the industry without a plan, and I kind of got out of it without a plan. It's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
And I think people that knew me through the process would say the same thing.
Yeah.
I never really had an actual plan. The goal was to pay bills. I never had I didn't have this sophisticated, I want to win a lot of awards and stand on stages. In fact, I never filed for awards, didn't care. Didn't really want people knowing what I was making, it just, so yeah, I got out of it largely because I was burned out. That's what made me leave the new builds. I just couldn't deal with the hours.
Sure.
And, Vince was amazing because Vince would call and say, hey, are you at the model? No. You going to beat him later? Nah. Tomorrow? Nah. Are you even in the country? No. Where are you? I'm in Jamaica. Did I know that? I swear, Vince, I told you. And, the good thing, the industry, if you're the top sales guy, they just care that you just sell houses.
Yeah.
So I take 8-10 weeks vacation a year when I work for Vince, but that last year just killed me. I mean, I felt it physically. I felt it mentally. Looking back, I don't think it caused any harm in the relationship, but at least not for Sue. For me, it did, because I was lonely. I was working too many hours and I wanted to be home with her. So walking away was easy. And I walked away. I didn't have a license, just shy of 4 years.
Yeah.
And had no intention of ever getting it back. Did not ever want to be involved in real estate other than teaching and coaching. And then one day I was introduced to Mike and Greg, who founded the Easy Sales Team and the Easy Referral Network. And they needed someone to build Columbus for them. And it was a weird thing. They had started a team there. It didn't work. And they were kind of like, nah, we're not interested. And I was like, well, I don't want to do it. And a couple months later, we were doing it. And best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
But I ended up 3 days short of having to retake all the classes. So I was able to just pass the test again.
Perfect timing.
Yeah. So even getting back into it was a fluke. I wasn't looking for it. There was no plan to that. And now I'm director of the team development for the entire organization. I'm in actually Greg's office. I'm in Cleveland 2 days a week. I'm in Cincy a lot, Pittsburgh a lot. There was no plan for that. So yeah, I am the bad example of set goals and a plan to get ahead in the world, because I've made it this far and done pretty well, but I've just kind of gone as things have presented themselves. I've just had opportunities pop up.
But I think you're a great example of saying, I want to design my life around my work. This is something that, my team lead, my mentor, has always said, like, people have it backwards because this is what we're used to. It's usually people design their life around their job, right? The 9 to 5 corporate life, whatever, right? That's what we're accustomed to. And he's always been like, Ryan's always been like, in real estate, you actually can design the life that you want to live first, and then your real estate business around that. And you actually did that, right? Like, you looked at lifestyle, life, family dynamics, relationship dynamics, all of those things, and said, hey, this isn't it. And I think a lot of agents struggle with identity crisis, that I have to be a realtor, right? I have to be at 24/7, 365. And this is just what I am. This is what I do. I love working 80 hours a week. And I'm like, I don't want to brag that I work 80. I don't want to work 80 hours a week. I want to work 20 hours a week, and still make the money. So, you are a great example. And I think that's why I love having these types of conversations, and that of, you don't have to go out and sell a ton of money or sell a ton of houses to make very good money doing what we do, as long as you're efficient and effective, and you have systems and things dialed in, or right, like, hey, I'm maybe not as passionate about selling real estate, but I love helping other people become successful with selling real estate.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Too many people, they live to work instead of working to live. And I've actually heard Ryan, I forget where, I heard him talking about it one day, though, at something he was speaking at. And, there's a point, you got to pay your bills, and you're in the business. I mean, anyone who's seeing this, it's in the business. There's an awful lot of people that get into real estate that never accomplish that. They never get to the level where they're comfortable. And I get that. You've got to work. My first year in the business, I worked an awful lot of hours. When I went to work for Vince, I figured out how to sell a lot of houses, and I was playing golf 5-6 days a week. I'd wander into the model in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. Vince would come in, and I'd have sneakers on, feet up on the desk with a book, and he would just look at me and roll his eyes, but I figured out how to sell more houses than anybody else for him, and that made me a valuable asset. But I still to this day don't believe it's how many hours you work. It's what you do with them.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing, I think, for most realtors, is they either don't have good time management skills, or they spend the time on the wrong things. And, you watch agents, I know you've seen it. They can spend 5 hours creating a 1-page flyer.
Yeah.
And it's like, nah, spend 2 hours and go find a prospect, close the deal, and you got the money to hire someone to do the stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And, I do think it's an industry where it's easy to make everything about your business. Agents are scared to say no when a client calls them and says, I want to see something now. And, you watch agents who are with their kids at a sporting event saying, oh, okay. And, it's not a healthy life. That's for sure.
Right.
And I'm 59, so 60's coming way too damn quick. I'm actually older than the average agent. Finally, the average agent now is 57. And I look back and I look at all the countries I've been in. And I've been in 69 countries in my life.
Wow.
All the travel, all the concerts. Last night I finished up at the office, drove over to Kent, Ohio to see Carl Palmer play. And my friend's his guitarist, so got to hang out with them. And then I'm back here, 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm working again. But I still go to concerts. I still, curl up with a book. And I think our biggest flaw in our industry is that agents take this too seriously. And to your point, you can make a very good living without having to sell 100 homes a year.
Yeah.
If the right business model and the right clients and you market the right way, it still is a great way to make a living. I just think too many people never get to a point they can laugh at it and realize it's just a job. It's
right.
Not that serious. If you don't sell a house a day, no one's coming up and shooting you. It's more important that your marriage is good and your relationship with family and friends is good and your health is good. Dying rich is still dying. you know. By the same token, not getting evicted helps too, you know.
Sure.
But yeah.
So just timeline wise, when did you decide to do more of the coaching stuff? 2012, 11, 13?
You know, I actually started in about 2004.
Okay.
I had a couple builders. I'm an East Coaster and still go home a lot. I had a couple builders hire me to do projects with their sales staff. Going in and like secret shopping them and telling them who to fire, you know, who needed training, and then creating training programs. So I kind of started it when I was still working for Vince, but specifically for a couple clients. And then once I left R&H, I started doing work for a couple different brokerages in Columbus. I'd met a bunch of realtors who wanted to grow their new build business, so they were coming to me for advice. And one day I just woke up and said, you know, I can get paid for this. I can get paid more for it. So I reached out to some brokers I knew on the East Coast and said, listen, I'm going to be in Philadelphia in a couple of weeks. You want me to do a class? And they said, well, great. And I started going out and doing free classes. And after one or two, I started getting paid to come back and do it. Really, I was going home to Philly into the shore and stuff, and someone else was giving me money to do it. And I was coming back from vacation with money, you know, instead of with less money.
Yeah.
And just kind of, again, I didn't really have a plan for it. I just kind of said, okay, I need to bring this much in, go get it. And then from there, what I learned, you know, I've got an agent, you know, that you would know if I gave you the name. He's over with your firm. You know, he hired me to coach him, and now I'm coaching 6 people that he's referred to me. So, you know, I coach in the team, obviously, as part of the role here. But, you know, well, you know, Greg, we were talking about Greg before we got on camera. Greg's one of our founders. He's a big coach at Glover, and you said you just saw him up at the Glover event.
Yep.
You know, Mike, the other founder, has his coaching clients. I have mine. You know, it's one of the great things with the business. If you get to be good at it, people will pay you for help. Yeah. You know, and there's a lot of ways to make money in this industry that don't involve a client, you know, in a house.
Right.
And, you know, at this point, I have not done a actual deal since about 2011, 2000. Yeah. If I get clients now, I get a younger agent on the team and I split the deal with them. I let them do all the paperwork, all the legwork, and I just kind of negotiate it, deal with the client, which helps a younger agent learn.
100%.
You know, but we were talking about contracts yesterday. It's like, I don't know. I haven't looked at a Columbus contract in close to a decade. Yeah. You know, so don't ask me paperwork questions. And now my role, I deal with Dayton contracts and Cincy and Pittsburgh and Cleveland. It's like, you know, nah, get someone who actually uses it every day. They know it. Yeah. You know, but but again, yeah, really to this day, stepping in with Greg and Mike into this role, and it was never planned out. It was never something that 5 years ago I set a goal and said, oh, I want to be there. It really was. You know, we're in a situation where we needed another leader, and it was like, I'll do it. Sure, why not? So yes, my entire life is gone with, I don't know how I got here, but I'm kind of glad I did. You know, and it's you know, it's really not a bad thing.
Well, I think too, that goes to, like, you know, I think a lot of agents, and you mentioned, get caught up on the wrong things, right? Like, you know, a business card, a logo, those things aren't going to move your business forward, right? And same thing, like, you know, your journey, there hasn't been, quote unquote, a true plan. You've kind of just let things happen, things develop. It's just, you know, always been focused as far as, if I can build relationships and help people, the business will take care of itself. I'm curious, Tim, like, from a coaching standpoint, what are some of the principles that you teach to maybe help the audience? You know, maybe they are in a struggle right now, or, you know, they're in a rut, or maybe they are just getting started in the business. What are some of the principles or concepts that maybe at a high level, you don't have to get into the weeds on it, but,
you know, I think probably the most valuable thing that I've learned, and it really came clear a few months ago. I heard a veteran agent teaching a class, and he was teaching newer agents, and he told them, don't do open houses. They don't work. They're useless. And I really had this urge to smack him. And after the class, he actually came up to me and said, what do you think? I said, I think you just taught the worst class I've ever heard. I was so offended by that. And he asked me why. I said, because you're telling people don't do open houses. And I still think to this day, with all the tech, with all the social media, with all the realtors sitting in their parents' basements creating content, you got to go out in the real world and talk to a stranger. And I still think if any new agent, go find open houses to do. And if anyone ever looks at me, I'm like, the builders have a model. The builders are smarter than we are. They have more money than we do. How do they sell houses? They do open houses 7 days a week. You know, and that's all they really do. Yeah. You know, they have websites and stuff, but all they really do is open houses. And so I still think as a coach, if an agent's like, I need to find more business, you got to talk to strangers, your friends and family. Maybe if you were the president of a sorority or fraternity at OSU with 300 other people and you're 25 and they're all getting married, maybe you got a chance just from your friends. But for the normal realtor, you don't know enough friends and family that are going to keep you going. Yeah. And so I still think old school, I know being 59, a lot of younger agents look and go, yeah, but he's old. It's, you know, they don't do that anymore. Yeah, I admit we used carbon paper contracts. You know, we actually had fax machines and the MLS was just going on the computer when I started. But, you know, open houses work then, they work now. Yeah. If you don't do open houses and the builders, most of the builders will let you do spec homes. So if you can't find a listing, and just getting out and talking to people, going to Rotary, going to Chamber of Commerce, going out with your mortgage guys, and, you know, just getting the more people you know, the more business you do. Yeah. So I think, you know, when I coach, I always start with that. You know, I teach a principle. I teach classes on 35750, which I'm actually finishing the book finally. It's the easiest thing I ever came up with. You want to grow, and I don't care what you sell. It works anywhere. But it's meet 3 people a day, do it 5 days a week, and in a year you met 750 new people. That will grow any business. You know, I don't care what you sell, but if you're in real estate, you meet 750 people and you put them in your database and you follow up and you farm, you're going to sell houses. And, you know, I think that's the secret sauce to this industry. The other side of the coin is fiduciary responsibility does matter. You know, agents that care about their check more than the client situation, it comes back to bite them. If you always put your client first, you always do the right thing, you call agents back, you communicate, you know, that matters. It matters in your reputation in the long run for sure. Yeah. You know, and then the last thing I always coach is, you know, be a decent human being to each other. I mean, you go through it, you're an EXP agent, you know the post. Well, anyone who's slamming EXP just needs to shut up. It's a good company. I got friends there. You know, I've been at Keller a lot of my career. I was at Remax. But, you know, you guys recruiting, Keller Williams did it when they started. Every company recruits. So get off the EXP guys, you know, and there's a couple new ones coming in that, you know, it's like, It doesn't matter if you're at Red One, if you're at Joe Smith Realty, or if you're at Keller at Remax, we're all in the same industry. Yeah. You know, and I coach and I really push my people, return calls. If someone sends you a really crappy offer, call them back and thank them for the offer. Say, no, my client's not interested, but thanks. Yep. You know, if an agent calls you and says, you know, I'd love to have coffee and talk to you about such and such broker. If they're professional, I got time for them. You know, it doesn't mean you have to switch, but you should meet people. You know, you should know your peers. When I sold, man, I bet you if I went down the top 250 producers, I probably knew 220 of them at the time. Yeah. Not so much anymore. But so I always coach the agents, especially the new ones, when you're going in, this is not war. This is peers. Yeah. If they're professional, you be professional back, you know, and that's kind of a soapbox thing for me, because it drives me crazy when I see all these people slamming, and there are people that recruit wrong. I mean, you know, but if somebody calls you and talk to them, be nice. If they're polite, if a lender calls and wants to have coffee, yeah, have a cup of coffee. They're not going to, what are they going to do to you? You know, you never know when they can help you. You never know when you'll need them. And, you know, you never know when you'll leave and not be a realtor and want to be a lender, or vice versa. And I think the biggest problem in this industry is we treat each other pretty bad a lot of the time. Yep. You know it, you sell, you put offers in, and you don't even ever get a call back. They don't even have the courtesy to call and say, sorry, we went with a different offer, but thank you. Yeah. And you know, that's the worst part of our industry. And it didn't used to be that way. You know, when I got into it, you had to go to a lot of brokerages to get keys. There were no electric lock boxes, you know, you had to interact more. And, you know, the tech has been great in ways, but it's also stopped us from, you know, like what you're doing here is great. Getting agents from different companies, you know, just it's great getting to know people. It's great just having conversations and, you know, hanging out with your peers. And so, yeah, talk to strangers, do open houses, always prioritize the clients, even if you make no money on a deal, it will pay off. And, you know, be more professional. You know, we have a bad reputation. There's this little NAR settlement lawsuit because we have a bad reputation. You know, realtors rank with used car salespeople, ambulance chasing attorneys, you know, health insurance salespeople. Why do we rank there? A lot of it's because of how we treat each other. Clients see it, you know, and if all the new agents coming in were taught, you know, the benefit of getting to know each other and being professional, our industry would do better, you know? So there was my soapbox. Sorry. But.
No, I love it, you know, because I always tell agents, you know, I have a passion for new agents just because, you know, I always say I got lucky meeting my mentor and my coach. And I feel like it's my obligation, my duty to give back, right, to that part of the industry. And I always tell people, you know, real estate's simple but hard. It's simple and you said this, right? It's simple in the fact that all you have to do is wake up and say, who am I going to talk to today? Right? I'd always tell myself, who's going to be my client today? You know, if you just simplify real estate, it's conversations. And you said that, you know, and so it's good to hear that coming from someone else who's been in the business, you know, as long as you have, and coaching other agents, that we make it, as real estate agents, we make it harder on ourselves than what we need to. And one of the questions I was going to ask you is, why do you feel agents why do you feel that agents think that they have to do more? Right? Like, even, you know, why do I have to be on social media? Why do I have to shoot video content? Why do I have to have a podcast? Why do I have to have a logo? Why do I have to, you know, and it's all of these things. But the only thing that truly matters is, did you have 5 conversations today?
You know, I think you can blame a lot of that on the coaches. I think, you know, all the guys I know that coach, and I think you can put blame on the Tom Ferries and Jeff Glovers, and in the old days, the Tom Hopkins and stuff, because if they say the same thing over and over, no one will pay them. The brokerages, you know, I mean, you know, Keller Williams, where I am, they're known as training new agents. You know, their reputation, and there's almost a joke, they train them and then they go somewhere else. But if you don't have something new, nobody will pay you. You know, and at this point, most of the classes I do are free. You know, like I'm teaching Monday night, I'm doing a Zoom class on NAR scripts, and it's open to any agent, any brokerage, anywhere in the country. It's free. But back in the day, I'd charge $89 for a class, and, you know, you get 100 people in the room. Well, you had to have something new the next month, and then you had to have something new the next month. And I really do think a lot of it is caused by that. Because you could take a brand new agent today and teach them how to do open houses really well, and teach them how to go out and go to business events and meet people. They would be successful without ever doing anything else. Yeah. But no one can sell them stuff. You know, all the companies selling leads had to come up with new tech, new ways to do it. You know, I've got a burner number on my phone now for $5 a month. I don't need a burner number. I use it sometimes. I'll leave it on messages when I really don't want to be disturbed, you know, or I'll give it out to people that way when they call, I know not to drop what I'm doing, but I don't need that. You know, the only thing I'm cool with is my cell phone's one of the flips. People are like, that's cool. Yeah, I don't need that. You know, the phone that rang and you answered and said hello was really all you needed. Yeah. But I think so much of it is, when you look at the coaches, the brokerages, there's always got to be something new, you know? And I mean, you look at Keller and EXP, it's a good example, because EXP was ex-Keller guys, and the two models are pretty close. There's some differences in profit share. You guys are publicly traded, their stock stuff. But when you really look at the companies, what they're based on, there's so much in common. You know, Coldwell Banker and Howard Hanna in our market, they're much more old school, you know, much more old school policies, but they're very similar. No one's really reinvented this wheel.
Right.
You know, everybody's like, oh, we're the newest and most hip. And no, you're not. It's still go out and talk to clients. It's still go out and do open houses.
Yeah.
But to be able to attract people, you got to have a shiny object. You know, you got to have a squirrel running around somewhere that people are noticing. So I think a lot of it, you know, the short answer to your question is it happened because people had to keep coming up with something new or no one would listen to them.
Yeah.
You know, it's why business book writers have to write new books every year, you know, because they can only sell so many and then they need something new.
Right.
And I think as an industry, I think we've really gotten away from the basics. You know, in a lot of cases, I watch agents who they can spend, I mean, they never get started. You've seen it. You know, why do so many agents fail? It's because they never really start. You know, they get their license and then they spend months getting their book, their material, their listing presentations, and they never actually go talk to anybody.
Yeah.
You know, or the opposite, they never learn what they're doing. You know it too. It's hard to get agents to engage in classes and education and stuff.
Yep.
So you have agents running around causing so much trouble because they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, technology, social media, all the distractions, I don't think have helped. I don't think they've helped our industry. It's great for the client. They can hop on a million different websites and look at houses.
Sure.
You know, but then they put their name in and it gets sold to 5 people and they get besieged by telemarketers. You know, I really think as an industry, we should look more at what the builder reps do. They sell, you know, they make more money on average by far. They far more professional in most cases. You call a builder rep, they call you back.
Yeah.
You know, they do open houses better than agents do. Their marketing is.
They know the product better than agents do.
They know their product. Yeah, absolutely. And you don't see them posting controversial social media and pissing off people. You know, I can't tell you the last time I saw a Pulte rep and a DR Horton rep in a fight online. You and I could hop online now and find 15 real estate fights going. You know, I really do wish realtors would look over there a little more. Even look at the mortgage people, the professionalism. You know, my biggest concern for the industry going forwards, everyone's like, well, Zillow's going to knock us out of business. This is not. If we go out of business, if our job goes away, we did it to ourselves.
100%.
I really believe that. We did it because we were so unprofessional. People said, no, we're not dealing with them anymore.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. I know we're short on time. I wanted to ask you 2 final questions. What's a legacy goal for you?
You know, now I get to work with agents every day, teaching, coaching, helping them. At some point, someone's going to come up to me long after I'm retired. They're going to run into me at wherever I'm living in a senior center and go, I can't thank you enough. You helped me live my best life. You know, something I taught them, something they heard from me, something they stole from me or borrowed made a huge difference. And I think if I leave the planet and one person says that, I accomplished something. You know, I'm pretty confident there's going to be hundreds of people that say it. But for me, it's that, you know, Sue and I are fortunate. We're going when we retire, as long as we stay healthy, we're going to have a very good retirement, enjoy our last years of life. We're not going to worry about money. We don't have kids to worry about, so I don't have that stressor. You know, we're going to have a really great rest of our lives. Yeah. But I think the legacy is the people that come behind. And, you know, if you could help enough people really have a great life too, I think that's the best legacy. It's not about building, you know, our team's #1 in the state. We're not going backwards. We'll keep growing. We'll keep building. No one's going to catch us. But it's not about building it. It's the people that are here today and making sure you're helping them. And then as you grow, making sure you're helping the new people. I think that should be all of our legacy goals. I know when you talk about Ryan, who runs, you know, the house team, the team leaders on the teams like that, the care, those are the people that you want to be around. Because they're the ones that'll help you hit your goals, and then you can leave the legacy to others. You can give it back.
100%. Tim, last question for you. If you could give our audience one piece of advice, maybe that you give out to your coaching clients, or just any, you know, an agent comes to you and says, hey, Tim, like, give me one thing.
I require all my coaching clients to read a book written by Jeffrey Gitomer. It's called The Little Black Book of Connections. It is a life-changing, altering business book. It's got a lot of pictures. It has a lot of really big print. It's only 160 pages. It's an easy read. Jeff's the guy who sold commercial door-to-door in Philadelphia, which is where I'm from. And if you can survive door-to-door in Philly, you can survive anywhere. You know, the city that threw snowballs at Santa. I'd read that book. It's all about building your network. It's all about approaching strangers with value. What can you do for them instead of asking what they can do for you? It's about talking to strangers, turning them into clients, turning them into raving fans, and getting referrals. All of his books are amazing, but yeah, that one thing I would tell any new salesperson, but certainly any realtor, Jeffrey Gitomer, Gitomer, and the book's The Little Black Book of Connections. Absolutely amazing. It's literally, I think, the Bible of building your network and your database and turning it into clients and referrals.
Well, I'm gonna have to go jump off of here and order that on Amazon so I can snag it. I've never heard of that book, so I appreciate
it's like 16 bucks. Buy a few copies, pass them out to some of the newer agents.
It's a great idea. Tim, thanks so much for jumping on today and sharing your story, your journey, your thoughts, your wisdom. Those that are watching, Tim's phone number is down at the bottom of the screen. If you guys are, thinking about selling, buying, or if you're a real estate agent watching this and you want to, talk to him about the easy referral network and what they're building, make sure you reach out to him. But Tim, those that are listening in on the audio version, what is the best way for someone to connect with you?
Just call me. I actually usually answer my phone. And if you leave a message, I usually call back in an hour. I don't sell anymore. So the buy, sell of houses don't care. But we have the Easy Academy, which is our training program. It's free to agents anywhere, any brokerage. You want to get people on classes, applies to you, John. If you want to get some of your agents on, like Monday night, I'm teaching on NAR scripts, but we're constantly doing stuff. I'd love to talk to agents who want some free education opportunities. And yeah, if an agent's struggling, the other advice I give agents, being a lone wolf agent, especially if you're trying to start in this business on your own in this market with the expenses we have, Gary Keller himself says he thinks within 10 years, everybody's either going to run a team or be on a team. I know the guys that run EXP, there's a lot of the same thought process. If you're an agent that's struggling, you should be looking at teams. Call John, reach out, hear about theirs, call me, hear about ours. There's a seat on the bus for everybody. The trick is finding the right seat to help you hit your goals and live your best life. But anyone who wants to talk about brokerages, teams, always happy to help. I promise if somebody comes to me and says, Tim, tell me about your brokerage and this one, I will not recruit. I'll be honest about it, but love to meet agents. So, or come by my office for coffee. I just like meeting new agents, always looking to talk to people.
Well, Tim, again, thanks so much. I appreciate your time and you coming on and sharing with us. If there's anything I can do for you in the future, please reach out.
Let's grab lunch or coffee. I mean, I've known who you are for a while, but let's shake hands and actually be in the same room.
Yeah, I would love to connect with you, back here in Columbus, and we can get together here soon. I know this isn't going to be the only time that we're going to be chatting. So
absolutely,
again, thanks so much, and we'll get together here soon.
Thank you, John. Thanks, everybody.